Hey everyone, Robin Diana here. Some of my students that are getting ready to move on from beginner to improver have a hard time with that transition. So they asked me to make this video going over a lot of the steps they need to learn. With the country line dancing, we essentially do a lot of the same steps over and over again, just in different patterns. So once you get those basic steps down, it's so much easier to learn the dances. So I'm just going to go over a few of them for you today and a few tips. Okay, most of our dances start with your weight on your left foot because you usually start out walking or moving with your right. Occasionally we have a left dance where your weight is on your right foot and we start moving with the left. But for the most part, it's the other way around. Country line dancing is a lot different than other types of classes, like if you've done Zumba for years, where you're mostly facing the instructor. Country line dancing, you're facing different walls quite a bit of the time. So you need to really listen. A good instructor will say everything as well as give you visual cues, okay? So it's hard to get off that mindset where you just feel you need to watch every step, but it's really good practice to try to listen, all right? So when the instructor says to step, we put our weight on it, and touch or point, we're not gonna put our weight on it. So that's one of the tips. So let's go over a rock step or rocking chair. A rock step, you're going to rock forward. Say it's a right rock step, rock, and recover. Recover means you're recovering your weight on the opposite foot. Okay, so a right rock, recover, or it could be a side right rock, recover. Or it could be a rocking chair. A rocking chair is when you rock, recover, and rock back and recover. Okay, so you're just recovering your weight on the opposite foot. So a left rocking chair, your weight would be on your right, and you rock, recover, just like a rocking chair. Okay. Another basic step is a jazz box, and we do this in beginner line dancing. A lot of the beginner dances have jazz boxes, but sometimes it takes a while for people to get them down. All right, a jazz box is always 4 steps to a jazz box. So a right jazz box, your weight is on your left foot, and you're going to step out with your right and cross over. It doesn't have to be crazy, like way over. It could just be kind of out in front, and then you step back on your left, step out with the right, and step together with the left and put your weight on it. So you're making a little box with your feet. You're crossing over, back, step, step. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you were going to do a turning jazz box, which we often do a quarter turn with a jazz box, a couple of the beginner dances have that. So you might do a jazz box to the front, or a turning one, quarter turn right would be over, step back, start your turn, step out, and step together. Weight is back on the left. All right, so let me show you that again. Over, back, step, step. So you made a quarter turn to your side wall, 3 o'clock. All right, if you noticed, I have dance numbers on the wall. It's a little rudimentary system, but I'm thinking with the online teaching, it might help you at home to throw some numbers around the room. A lot of people are having a hard time with the online classes directionally when they're facing away from the instructor. All right, so that was jazz box. I didn't show you a left jazz box. so a left jazz box is the same thing, but your weight is on your right. You're going to cross over, step back, step, step. Put the weight on it. All right. Cross over, back, step, step. Weight's on the right. Okay, so that's a left jazz box. All right, pretty easy. The next harder step would be a coaster step. All right, so a right coaster step is just 3 steps. Your weight would be on your left. A right coaster is back on the right, back on the left, forward on the right. And your weight is now on your right foot. All right, so it's switching your weight. Ready? Back on the right, back on the left, forward on the right, and your weight is now on your right. Now you could do a left coaster step, which is back on the left, back on the right, forward on the left. Okay, so now you notice your weight is on the left foot. So you might have a combination. Quite often there's a combination like, rock, recover, right coaster step, rock left, recover, left coaster step. Something like that, okay? So we do a lot of coaster steps. So that's a good one to practice. Mambo step. Your weight right now should be on your left, and you're gonna rock, recover, and step. Very important. I taught a really easy beginner dance called Darling Mambo, and people were having a really hard time with it, and I'd say Mambo step. But I don't think they were recovering their weight and stepping down on that right foot. So they were just rocking, and then they didn't know what to do with this foot. Okay, so it's side rock and step, side rock and step. Okay, so I like to do a little lift off the weight on that left foot and recover and step. Left mambo step, right mambo step, left mambo step. A front right and step, back left and step. Okay, so in the beginner dance that we usually teach called Darling Mambo, it's a left song. So the weight starts on your right foot and you do a left mambo step, right mambo step, left mambo step, right mambo step. All right. Okay, the next step we learn, and we usually learn this in beginner, but it's a lock step. And usually we do that on a diagonal, a right lock step. Your weight is on your left, of course. You're going to step up and kind of drag and lock that foot behind and step forward. So it's step, lock, step, step, lock, step. Now we do lock steps moving backwards as well. So you could do backwards lock step, step back, cross over, step. That's a back lock step. I think that would be a back left lock step, or you could back right lock step. All right, so that's the lock step. Okay, how about sailor step? Sailor step is kind of similar to the coaster step. It's 3 steps. I think it's called sailor because you're supposed to picture a drunken sailor walking. So your weight, for a right sailor, your weight is on your left. You're going to step behind, step, step. Step behind, step, step. That's a left sailor. Okay, so it's behind, step, step. Behind, step, step. Okay. So that's a sailor step. And sometimes it's a turning sailor step. Like a turning left sailor step. Left foot. We're probably going to turn to our left. Behind, turn, step. All right. It's always 3 steps. Now, if you're having a real hard time with that and you're new and just trying to get the whole pattern together, you can do 1, 2, 3, okay? But eventually you should learn that sailor step. All right, we're going to talk about the K-step, which is another beginner one, but we want to remember, what is a K-step? So in the future, when you're moving on to that improver, know that that's the K-step, because you need to listen as well as watch the steps, because things get a little harder. But if you know what the steps are called, it really, really helps when you're listening and you can't see. So a K-step, you're just making the shape of a K, letter K, on the floor. The back of the letter K is your left foot, that long straight line. Then you're going to take the right and step up to the top of the letter K and touch with your left. Step back to the back of the letter K and together touch. Step down with the right to the bottom of the K and drag the left, and then step back and touch. When we touch, we don't put our weight on it. All right, so K-step. Step up, touch, back and touch. All right, so it's just up, touch, back, and forward touch. Okay, so that's the K-step. Okay, we also do a lot of vines, and if you've done Zumba or all other types of dance, I'm sure you've done weaves or vines. So if we're going to vine to the right, we step out with our right, step behind with the left, step out with the right, and touch. Sometimes we brush, do a lot of brushing and stomping and country line dancing. And then we usually always go the other way, out, behind, out, brush. I shouldn't say usually, because it's not always the case. All right, so out, behind, out, touch, out, behind, out, touch, or brush. All right, sometimes we do a longer weave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, brush 8. Something like that. All right. Okay, so that's a weave. Okay, we do a lot of shuffling in line dance. If you don't know what a shuffle is, it's just 3 steps. So a shuffle forward would be right, left, right, left, right, left. That was a right and left shuffle. Sometimes we do shuffle turns. So if I was going to do a half turn, or with my right, starting with the right foot, half turn right, it would be right, left, right, making a half turn around. Okay, so sometimes we shuffle to the left. 1, 2, 3, right. Okay, so that's all a shuffle is. Sometimes we shuffle back too. Shuffle right, left, right, back. Okay, another step we do is a Rumba Box. A Rumba Box. All right, so these, I guess there's different variations. I just did one in a dance that we step to our left, step together with the right, step forward on the left and touch, step out with the right together and step, and back and touch. And the instructor will go over this too. It's just to give you an idea. You're making a Rumba box on the floor. So step together with the left, forward on the left touch, step out with the right, together with the left, step back with the left and touch. And then there's other times where it's a little different. We had one where we step to the right and we shuffle forward, shuffle. Step to the left, step together, and then shuffle back, leading with your left leg. So it was right together, shuffle forward, right, left, left together, shuffle back. So there are different variations of those box steps, but it's good to get familiar with it. One of the harder steps for students to get, I feel, moving on to improver dances, is Monterey points Monterey turns. I'm going to show you a half turn Monterey first. We can do quarter turn Montereys as well. Okay, so your weight is on your left foot. You're going to point to your right, and you're going to make that half turn pivot to the back. Put your weight on that right foot and point to your left. And then you're going to step together and put your weight on the left foot. Okay, so that's a half turn. Now we want to go back to the front, so another half turn. We're going to point to the right, step down, half turn, point to the left, step together. There are a lot of dances where this is a thing where you want to make a full turn, but it's a fancy way of doing it, I guess. So we could do that again. Point, turn, point, step, point, turn, point, step. Okay, so remember, stepping is putting your weight on it. Now, more often it's a quarter turn. So a quarter Monterey would be point, quarter turn, point, step, point, quarter turn, point, step. So you notice we've made a half turn to the back. Okay, so I've seen both, where you're making a whole turn or a half turn. Okay, so ready? Let's try that quarter again. Your weight's on your left. You're going to point with the right, do a quarter turn step. Point with the left, step together on that. Put your weight on it. Point with the right, quarter turn to the back, point your left, and step together. Put your weight on it. Okay, one more time. Let's try that. Two quarter turn Montereys. Point, turn, point, step, point, turn, point, step. Okay, that's your lesson on Monterey turns. We do that in dances like Sexy Tractor and a lot of dances. So that's a really good step to work on. It will make it so much easier to learn some of these basic steps so that you're not thrown by one particular step when you're trying to learn a new dance. Okay, another step we often do is a kickball change or a kickball cross. Some of you with a dance background know what a kickball change is, but a lot of people come in with no dance experience at all and have no idea what I'm talking about. So a kickball change is just kick, step, step. We're going to start with our weight on the left and do a right kickball change. So your weight is on your left foot, you kick with the right, step down on the right, and step again with the left. Okay, so it's kick, step, step. Now why do we want to do that? That's because maybe we have two kickball changes and we want it, the ball change is switching your weight back to the original foot the way it was on. So your weight is on your left, kick, step, step, put your weight back on that left foot. All right, so kick, ball, change, kick, ball, change. All right, so if you didn't do the ball change, sometimes it's just a kick, step. Where's your weight now? Your weight is on your right foot and maybe the dance goes a different way. So that's a ball change. Sometimes it's kick, ball, cross. Okay. All right, so this is a kick, ball, cross right. And this is a kick, ball, cross left. Just the opposite. Okay, scissor step. This is another one of the more challenging steps for newbies to learn, but this one's used quite a bit, and it's not bad. Once you got it down, you know that scissor step. Okay? It's also called side rock cross. Okay, so a right scissor step. You're going to step out to your right. You're going to step together with the left, put your weight on it, and cross your right over it. Okay, and your weight is now on the right foot. That's all it is. So usually we do something else. After this, we'll step out to the side, but that's the whole step. So it's out, together, cross. Sometimes we do that left scissor step after it. Out, together, cross. All right, so your legs are like a scissor. Step, side, cross. Actually, it's step, side, together, cross, side, together, cross. Although, when I'm instructing, and there's a lot of steps, I might just say sidewalk cross or scissor, okay? All right, so one more time. Scissor step, left and right. Okay. Here we are in part 2. New day, new outfit. I just want to add some steps that I forgot yesterday and go over some tips. All right, so let's start with the Charleston Step. It's a pretty easy step, but sometimes beginners have a hard time with it. Your weight is always on your left to start, and you're going to point front with your right and step back in place. Put your weight on it. Then you're going to point back with the left and step back and put your weight on it. That's the Charleston Step, those 2 steps together. All right, so we touch front and step, touch back and step. Okay, when you touch, you don't put any weight on it. So it's touch front, step, touch back, step, touch front, step, touch back, step. And if you want to swing your arms like in the old Vaudeville Charleston Step, you can swing your arms. Whatever you want to do is fine. All right. We don't tend to do a lot of arm work in line dancing, but feel free. Some songs we clap or whatever. You can add your own moves. Another thing I wanted to talk about was walls, your walls, before I go any further with steps. So, I don't know if you can see my numbers on the floor, but you should always think of your room where you're dancing or outside or on your deck, wherever you're dancing, as a big clock. Not a digital clock, the old-fashioned regular clock. So, and you always start the pattern at 12 o'clock, whether it's a 1-wall dance, 2-wall dance, 4-wall dance. All right, so a 1-wall dance, you do the whole pattern and start it again at 12 o'clock. You might turn around or whatever, but it'll always start again at 12 o'clock. A 2-wall dance, you'll do the whole pattern, and when the pattern ends, you will be facing the back at 6 o'clock. If it's a 4-wall dance, 4-wall dances can either go clockwise around or counterclockwise. So if you're moving clockwise, you'll start the pattern at 12, and when the pattern ends, you'll be at 3 o'clock and start it again. And then when that ends, you start again at 6 o'clock, and 9, and so on. And sometimes they are counterclockwise, so you would start at 12, and then the pattern will start again at 9, and so on. So, I was talking about the walls because I want to talk about turning and pivot turns. If you do a pivot turn, I say step out with the right and pivot. You're going to go to your left. Okay, sometimes people are like, well, I don't know which direction to turn. If I say step out with your right, pivot, you can't really pivot this way without getting all twisted up. So step out with the right, and we're going to do a half turn pivot. Half turn is facing your 6 o'clock. Now if I say, go back and I say step out to the right and do a quarter turn pivot, you're going to face 9 o'clock. I know this sounds very simple, but I've had people in a class where I say you make a whole turn around and they're like, what's a whole turn? And I was like, okay, a whole turn is you're turning all the way around, a complete turn back to the wall that you were at, okay? No, people get nervous in these classes, they get confused, so it's good to just go over some of these steps, all right? So sometimes you will do pivots. You might step out and do a quarter turn left pivot. When you pivot, you move on the ball of that back foot that you have the weight on. Okay, so a left pivot, you're going to step out and you're going to pivot over your right shoulder, a half turn. Your weight is still on that back foot. So whatever foot you had your weight on, say you have your foot on your right, you step out with your left, you're going to do a left pivot. Pivot with your left to your right. Okay, I know that's a little confusing, but you'll pick it up. All right, okay. Another quick thing I wanted to talk about is tags and restarts. If you're a newbie and you're out with a mixed group of advanced and new dancers, you might hear the instructor say, there's no tags and restarts in this song, or there's one tag, one restart, and you're like, what the heck is this? Okay, a tag is a little extra something in a pattern or at the end of the pattern. Say the song kind of trails off at some point and you're at the end of the pattern and you need a little extra something. So they might say, well, here you're going to sway 2, 3, 4, and then restart. And restart the dance pattern again. That's a restart. So, or sometimes you will be in the middle of the pattern and the song music changes and they'll yell restart. So even though you're not done with the pattern, you start the pattern over again. All right, so that's tags and restarts. Along the lines of a pivot, sometimes we do a paddle. A paddle is just a pumping step. Say we're gonna paddle a half turn to the back, going to our left. So it would be paddle, 2, 3, 4. Whatever the count is, it could be 3 paddles or 2 paddles. Usually it'd be 3 or 4. So paddle, you're just pumping with one foot and pivoting on the other. So paddle, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's a paddle step, and you can do those left and right. Okay, another step we do sometimes is a heel grind. So say we're gonna make a right heel grind, and then a right coaster step, back, back, forward. And then a left heel grind, left coaster step. Okay, sometimes the heel grind, you're making a quarter turn. Usually it's followed by a coaster step, I think, most of the time. Back, back, forward. That's just a thing. But anyhow, that's a heel grind. Okay, I'd like to go over some of the heel steps. Regular heel step, then there's heel switches, heel jacks, a vaudeville step, which is kind of an extension of the heel jack. But all the good fast dances have heel jacks. You want to learn this. All right. So a regular heel step, a right and left, your weight is on your left and you're going to extend your heel and step. Put your weight on it, extend the left and step. So these are just heel steps. Heel step. All right, so a heel switch is heel and heel end. It's a quicker step, quicker pace, and you don't really have time to switch your weight. Okay, a lot of times heel switches accompany point switches. All right, so you might have a combination like heel and point and. All right, so those are heel switches, and these are point switches. Just a quick change. All right, so a heel jack will do a right and left. So we cross over with our left, step out right, extend our left, step down, cross over with the right, step out with the left, extend the right, step down. Okay, so a regular easy heel jack combination is just crossing your left, step out and extend the left, put the left foot down, put your weight on it, cross with the right, step out and extend the right heel. All right, so it's just crossover, out, heel, step, crossover, out, heel, step. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Okay, let's try that again. Cross 1 and 2, 3 and 4. That's a basic heel jack. Why I'm saying that is often we do a vaudeville version of it, which is a little bit more. You're going to step out, step behind, step out, extend the left, step down, and cross. Okay, so this one's a little more. Out with the right, behind with the left, out with the right, extend the left heel, step down on that left, and cross with the right. Okay, let's try it again. This is the right vaudeville step. Out, behind, step heel, extend, step down, and cross. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, let's do it to the left. From there, often you do both, the right and the left. Out, step behind, step out with the left, extend the right heel, step down, and cross. All right, let's try that again. Out, behind, step, heel, step, cross. Okay, let's try right and left together. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, that's it for the steps. I can't think of any more off the top of my head, but one big tip that I've been telling people in the last 6 months. Okay, a lot of people say to me, when I'm doing the online classes, or he faces the other wall, I get totally screwed up. All right, so it's very difficult in a live online class. You're kind of stuck, but you can always go back to the videos and the step sheets and review. My tip is learn the dance pattern at the front wall first. Just really, really learn it if you can before you move on to wall 2, wall 3, wall 4. Okay, because that helps. When you're doing these short little beginner dances, you can deal with, it might be moving to the front and then a quarter turn and then you're at this wall, and it's not that hard. But when you get into the improver dances where you're doing turns and you're facing this wall and then you're facing this wall, it gets very confusing. But if you learn the pattern and get that dance pattern in your head first, then move on to the next wall. Go on to wall 2, try it there, and then put wall 1 and 2 together and see how far you get. Then 1, 2, 3. And then try doing the dance all together, like with a video or in a class, video class. And then try it on your own with just the music at home, just the music, okay? And make sure you can get it down. All right, so that is my big tip. Learn the dance pattern first to the main wall before you move on to other walls. Okay, I made this video because some people I know were having trouble moving on. Some have been doing beginner, 3 or 4 sessions in a row, and they're saying, I try the improver, but I can't quite get it. The steps are too fast, or I don't know all the steps, and I get lost. So this is where hopefully in YouTube you can click on the particular step that you want to go to in this video and just check it out. Some of the steps and it's boring, but hopefully if you pick up 3 new steps from this video, I got something right. And I hope to see you in some classes soon. Take care.